Hello, everyone. Today we're going to see some exhibits in the East Village and then make our way back down to Tribeca to see one more exhibit before calling it a day. I do want to give a little disclaimer at the beginning of this video. A lot of the exhibits that we're going to see today are reflections of what I think is the mental state that a lot of artists and people are going through right now. And I just want to call out that there's definitely a depressing undertone to a lot of the exhibits. We're going to start the day at one of three Karma Gallery locations in New York. We've been here before in other videos of mine, and this is an exhibit that actually spans across this gallery space as well as Craig Starr Gallery on the Upper East Side. At first glance, it looks nothing like the signature works of Peter Halley. Most people know. Usually when you think of Peter Halley, you immediately think of fluorescent colors and the texture of day-glow acrylic paint. These works, however, are from 1980 and 1981, and they represent the years when Halley was really starting to form the style that we all know and love today. During this time, Halley had moved back to New York from New Orleans, where he'd been living for 5 years. And this was a rough time in New York. It was still trying to recover from the 1975 financial crisis, where the city almost went bankrupt. There were really high crime rates, and honestly, the city was kind of falling apart. So he was also going through some personal challenges of losing his grandmother during this time, and you can really see that sentiment reflected in Halley's muted color palette. In many of the works we see here, Halley is exploring urban spaces. He's depicting apartment houses through a series of grids of square windows, as well as prisons depicted through bars and concrete blocks. You can see some of his studies for them here. So this is actually my first time visiting Marinara Gallery's new space. They used to be located in Chinatown in this really unique triangular building, and now they've moved over to NoHo on the third floor of a building. My first impressions are that the space is significantly larger. It's very bright, very airy, very beautiful, so congrats, Marinara Gallery. And this is an exhibit by the New York-based artist Anthony Iacono. And I went to his last show at the gallery a couple of years ago, and I was really drawn to his works because of their cinematic quality. The last works that I saw of his had a lot more contrast, though, I will say. I think it really helped add to the drama. These works fall a little flat for me, literally, just because of the overall sort of muted color palette. It's also always tough when galleries put works behind glass, just because it's hard to appreciate all the details thanks to the reflection of the lights, but I do understand why they do that. These works are created from collaging painted paper, and the gallery states that for these works, Iacono was, quote, influenced by the graphic aesthetics of prints and posters. He depicts figures in seemingly everyday scenarios that are offset with coded language and suspense. These new, intricate painted collages tell a story of his experiences birdwatching, a recent hobby he began during the pandemic. However, the works go even further to draw parallels between birdwatching and the, quote, discrete aspects of queer life. This is a cool reference to the Chuck Close work. We're going to take a quick coffee break at Le Cabra. This is a really great coffee shop that originated in Denmark and has now been expanding across the globe. But their main roastery is still in Copenhagen, and they've got a location in the East Village where we are now, and a location in Soho now, I believe, as well. Our next stop is another first for me. This is my first time visiting Clearing Gallery's new space in the East Village. They used to be in Brooklyn, and honestly, there wasn't a ton of other galleries around, so I rarely made the trip out there. But this space is really nice, very expansive. There's a lower level as well as offices and more exhibition space upstairs and downstairs. So this is an exhibit by Adam Alessi, and I will say I've never been so intrigued to learn what an exhibit is about. When seeing these works, the first thing that comes to mind for me at least are illustrations from a children's book, maybe some kind of villain in a German fairy tale. And honestly, I was not too far off. Apparently, these works are inspired by Alessi's vivid dreams. And according to the artist, he, quote, feels a constant sense of impending doom, as if something is always lurking behind him. I find it interesting that he dreams in such a almost vintage way. His figures resemble minstrels, vagabonds, clowns, and harlequins, which are not as common within contemporary iconography. And he creates these works by creating an initial drawing. We saw a few of those in the front, and he then transfers it to canvas. And these are his largest works to date. Some measure at almost 250 by 200 centimeters or 98 by 79 inches. We're now going to head over to Gallery Periton to see two exhibits. This is the last day that they're open, actually, so got there right in time to see them before they close. This is a show by Danielle Orchard, and if her style looks a little familiar, it's because she utilizes the iconography of modern art, like Cubism, to depict contemporary subject matter, like the realities of contemporary womanhood. So some of her obvious inspiration include works by Picasso and Matisse in both style and subject matter, but her laundresses, odalisques, and bathers are reimagined through the eyes of a female artist. So basically without the sexism and the objectification. While many of the works depict the carefree existence that can come from a day at the beach with friends or from a relaxing night in with your favorite TV show and junk food, others depict much harsher realities of the female existence. So, for example, many of the works depict Orchard's recent pregnancy, from its conception to planning and excitement to ultimately its premature loss. The gallery states the quote, "The works on view ricochet between optimism, grief, and absurdism, conveying the hopelessness of pregnancy, the devastation of miscarriage, and the sense of humor required to cope with this form of loss, one that's rarely shown in popular media despite its prevalence." Upstairs, we have an exhibit by Henry Gunderson, and I'm actually going to insert the video clips the way that I wish you could have viewed the exhibit in the gallery. The second room actually contains the main subject of the exhibit, and that first room that we just saw is more of an evolution of that subject. So, in this room, we have a series of works that are meant to represent the loneness of America. There are 8 canvases that are arranged purposefully so that they resemble a sort of neighborhood, showing how each of these individuals are living in solitude but still together. And in general, over the past few years, Gunderson has had houses and the home on his mind. His home in Red Hook, Brooklyn was in such disrepair that he made a deal with his landlord to have 6 months free in exchange for fixing it up. And so that is what he did. Another thing that this exhibit is kind of reminding me to call out is that I'm seeing more and more artists dabble in hyperrealism. And I think this is becoming more of a trend in the art world right now. I saw it a lot at Independent Art Fair, and you'll see it in this exhibit and then another exhibit later in this video. So the works in this room, this is the first room that we kind of came into, are loosely tied to the others. If anything, I personally just see them as explorations for the artist. The painting of the runners, this is one right here. They're allegedly supposed to represent running by those houses that we just saw. Again, seems like a little bit of a stretch to me, but we're going to cut through Soho in order to make our way down to Tribeca to see the final gallery show for the day. This is an exhibit that I'm really excited to share with you all on video because it's hard to capture the incredible detail in these works through just a photo. This is a show by Quentin James McCaffrey, and I was first introduced to his work earlier this year at Independent Art Fair in May. They had a series of his works at Nicelle Beauchamp's booth, and I was really drawn to them. In general, I think there's something about the small scale that makes you curious. It really draws you in, and there's something about these domestic interiors that make you feel this kind of historical nostalgia, thanks to the clear references of Dutch interiors and the European decorative arts. Also, don't worry, I'm not trying to touch the art. I was attempting to show the very small scale with my hand. Another cool thing about the works is that you can see light coming in from all of these unseen sources, sort of casting shadows on the walls depending on the time of day. And the use of these round mirrors and picture frames really just make you feel as the viewer that you are standing there and that this space is real. These are oil on canvas, and I'd honestly love to see how he creates them. I think he would need to use a toothpick or something to paint some of these details. They're almost just microscopic. And that's all for today. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I will see you all in my next video.